Hi, I'm Ranger Sam. I love to camp, and one of my favorite parts of camping, whether I'm in a park or in my own backyard, is to gather around a campfire and share some stories. So, my first story this evening comes from the Northern Cherokee tribe and has to do with one of my favorite animals, the possum. Now, this is the story of how Possum got his naked little tail. So, many years ago, Possum didn't have a little naked tail. He had one of the most beautiful tails in the animal world. And it was something he loved to brag about. Long black hair stretched down, and when he walked, it swished back and forth across the ground. Well, the time came when the animals were all going to get together for a big feast and a dance. And Rabbit was put in charge of delivering the invitations. And he thought he was tired of Possum showing off his tail and bragging about how beautiful his tail was. Because Rabbit, as we know, has a short little pom-pom tail. And that's because he got in a fight with Bear and lost part of his tail. So, a few days before the get-together, Rabbit showed up at Possum's house to deliver his invitation. And Possum said to Rabbit, "Well, since I have the most beautiful tail in all the animals, I demand to have a special seat so I can show off my tail. And I demand to have a special dance so I can show off my tail to everyone around." And Rabbit said, "Certainly," because Rabbit had a plan. He told Possum, "I'm going to send Cricket, who's the best groomer in the whole world, to come and help you get your tail ready for the party." And so then he left. And so Rabbit went to visit Cricket, who is known also as the barber, and asked him to do something special for him. And quietly he whispered in Cricket's ear. And so the next day, Cricket hopped over to Possum's house. It was just a few hours before the party. And Cricket said, "I'm here to fix your hair on your tail." And so Possum laid down and started letting Cricket groom his tail. And soon enough, as Cricket was brushing out his tail, Possum got sleepy and he fell asleep. And while he slept, he didn't know Cricket was cutting his hair right close to the skin. And as he cut from the possum's back towards the tip of his tail, he wrapped a red ribbon to hold the hair in place and wrapped it all the way down to the tip. When he was done, he woke Possum up and he said, "I've wrapped your tail in a special red ribbon. Don't take it off until you're ready to dance." And so that evening, all the animals gathered together and they had a great big feast. And Possum, he was so eager to show off his tail, he demanded that the music start. And when it did, he went out onto the center of the dance floor and began to dance around. And he yelled to everybody, "Look at my tail, see how beautiful it is." And the animals cheered. And he said, "But you cannot see it because of the red ribbon. Let me show it to you in all its glory." And he pulled the red ribbon off of his tail. And all of his hair on the tail came with the special red ribbon. Came right off. And the animals laughed. And Possum, he was so scared and so frightened, the grin on his face over his beautiful tail froze there, and he passed out in fright. And that's why to this day, possums have a naked tail, and when startled, will grin and pass out. So my next story comes from Appalachia, from around about 1860, and it's called Sodi saleratus. What's Sodi saleratus, you might ask? It's baking soda. It's the ingredient we use in biscuits to make big flaky biscuits. So a long time ago, a grandmother, grandfather, their granddaughter, and grandson lived in a cabin in the woods, and they had a pet. Their pet was a squirrel. Wasn't any ordinary squirrel, though. It was the world's smartest squirrel. And one day, Grandma decided to make big flaky biscuits to go with some fresh strawberries that they had picked. But when she opened her cupboard, she found out she didn't have sody saleratus. Now, you can't have big flaky biscuits without sody. So she sent her grandson down to the store to get some sody saleratus. And he was more than happy to do that. So he went charging on down the hill, and he was singing, "Sody, sody, sody saleratus." And he crossed the bridge, and he went into the store, and the storekeeper gave him a box of sody. On his way back, he got to the bridge, and just as he started to cross it, out from underneath the bridge came a big, grumbly, great big bear, and he said, "You woke me up, and I'm going to eat you, and I'm going to eat your box of sody," and he gobbled them down. A little while later, Grandma got worried, so she sent her granddaughter to go find her brother. And she went skipping down the hill, a skip, a skip, a skip, and she skipped across that bridge and into the store. Well, the storekeeper told her that her brother had already been there, and he must be playing down by the creek. So she went down to the bridge to find her brother. And when she got there, what did she find? The great big grumbly bear, who said, "I ate that little boy and his box of sody, and I'm going to eat you." And he gobbled her right up. Well, sure enough, Grandma was getting worried, so she sent Grandpa down there. He wasn't so happy about it. So he said, crumpity crump, crumpity crump, with his cane down the hill and across the bridge and into the shop. Well, the shopkeeper sent him back, saying both of them must be down that way. And sure enough, he got to the bridge, and what did he find? The big grumbly bear, who came out and he said, "I ate that little girl and I ate that boy and their box of sody, and I'm going to eat you." And he gobbled them all up. Well, sooner or later, Grandma got tired of waiting. She went to find them. And she said, "Hutchity hutch, hutchity hutch," down and across the bridge to the shop and out again. And when she got to the bridge, she ran into the bear. And the bear said, "I ate that old man, and I ate the little girl and the little boy, and I'm going to eat you." And he gobbled her right down. Sooner or later, Squirrel got tired of waiting for Grandma to make those biscuits, so he went to find his family. And he went down to the bridge and across the bridge, scamper, scamper, scamper. And he went into the store, and the storekeeper said, "Now, I don't know where your family is," and sent the squirrel back out. Well, when the squirrel got to the bridge, sure enough, here came the big grumbly bear. And he said, "I ate that old lady, and I ate that old man, and I ate those two little kids and their box of sody, and I'm going to eat you." As quick as he could, the squirrel ran up the closest tree. Well, bears can climb, and so the big burly bear climbed up the tree behind the squirrel, and the squirrel ran out onto a little thin branch and then jumped across to another tree. Well, the bear, he decided he was going to chase right after the squirrel, and he said, "If you can make it with your little legs, I can make it with my big, strong legs." And when he got out to the end of the branch and he jumped, he didn't quite make it. And he fell, and when he landed, he hit so hard he let out a big burp, and out flew Grandma, and out flew Grandpa, and the little girl and the little boy and their box of sody. And then the bear ran off into the woods. Well, the family went home, and Grandma made her big batch of biscuits, and they all sat and enjoyed the biscuits with fresh cream and strawberries, and they gave the squirrel his own little biscuit to eat while he sat on the mantelpiece all curled up just above the fire. So in our last story, Bear was the villain. In our next story, Bear's actually kind of the hero. Our next story comes from Maine, but I'm going to tell it as a Virginia tale. This is The Bear and the Fisherman. Many, many years ago, in the New River Valley, there lived a little old man who liked to fish. And one day he was out along the river fishing for trout, and he was using his fly reel. He spent the whole day fishing for his dinner, but he didn't catch anything. So he decided to go home. When he got to his little cabin on the side of the creek, he found the door was open. More curious than scared, he stopped and he listened, and he could hear something bumbling around inside his house. And so he crept up to the door, and he looked, and he could see a bear inside his cabin, breaking open his big jar of molasses. And he poured it on the ground, and then the bear was rubbing his paw in the molasses. Well, the man, not knowing what else to do, went around to the other side of the cabin, crept right up to the window, and then yelled in the window and banged on the walls and made all sorts of noise. And the bear dropped down from off the table and ran out the door. Well, the old man came around to watch the bear, and the bear was running kind of weird. The paw he rubbed in the molasses, he was holding up, and he was kind of running on three legs. And the bear went down to the river. And there he held his paw out, the one all covered in sticky molasses. And sure enough, sooner or later, one bug landed and got stuck, and then another bug landed and got stuck, and another, and another, and another, until his whole paw was covered with wriggly little bugs like mayflies. And then the bear held his paw out over the water. And sure enough, after a minute or so, trout jumped up to grab a insect off of his paw, and the bear swatted the trout out of the water, and then held his paw out again. And when the next trout jumped up, the bear swatted that trout out of the water too. And he did that again and again until he had a pile of fish on the beach. And it was the biggest pile of fish that the old man had ever seen. And then the bear stuck his paw in the water and washed off the molasses and the insects, went over and sat down and started to eat the fish. But the bear knew that the old man was there. And when he got down towards the bottom of the pile, the bear laid out 6 fish for the old man. And then got up, looked at the old man, made a grumbly noise, and then walked off. The old man thought that grumbly noise might have been the bear saying thank you. And so he went over, and sure enough, there were 6 big trout just laying there for him. And so he took the trout home. And from then on, when he went out fishing, he always laid out a little tray of molasses just in case the bear stopped by looking for some bait. Well, thank you for sharing your time with me. I think it's time for us to have a s'more, to let our fire go and burn down before we turn in for the evening. Thanks for joining us for the 2020 Parks to Kids Day. Hope you had a great time. Good night. Wait, you're still here? It's time to go to bed. Good night.